Hey, well, good afternoon, soldiers. We're back for another soldier story. I know it's been a little bit, a hot minute before we've had a soldier story, and we had some really good stories last year. So if you are new to the Phantasma community and haven't had a chance to listen, what these are is just a chance for us to get to know different soldiers that are involved in the community, how they became involved in Phantasma, learn a little bit about their history and their story. And if there's something that I've learned since I started with Phantasma is the stories that soldiers have are all unique, but we all share something, and just that gives me goosebumps. It's really, really exciting. So I definitely want to thank Justin today, to come on the air. He's an OG of Phantasma. He's been around for some time, and I can't wait to start to probe into where his story has been, but what more exciting is what he's doing for Phantasma today. You have definitely seen his name around the Telegram group, but getting underneath the hood, we got some really cool things to talk about today. So definitely look forward to more live content with soldier stories. And for some of our new soldiers that are coming in, we definitely want to hear your stories. Reach out and we can, talk about different initiatives. But on that note, with further ado, I want to introduce Justin. And Justin, thank you so much today for, giving me your time out of your busy day. I know when we get into it, we'll do that. But dude, thanks a lot for coming on the air today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
I find it interesting because my tenure with Phantasma, albeit I feel like I'm starting to become an older soul in the crypto space, but a couple of years is a long time with Phantasma. Now, it's been a lot longer for you, from what I have learned about you.
A little bit.
Just a little bit, right? Yeah. You've been around for approaching 4 years now?
Yeah, I would say around 2018 into 2019. Yeah.
Boy, those crypto days of 2018, eh? That's
a lot has changed.
Right. And I bet Phantasma is not your only entry point into crypto.
No, it's not.
No, so
it's not. No.
Well,
but it's it's my favorite. So not being biased. Well, maybe a little bit, but definitely my favorite for sure. Yeah.
One thing I find interesting about being in Phantasma is the diversity, that it's global. We're all going through this at something that we share with, the pandemic. But I find a lot of similarities with people, and it doesn't matter where you come from, whether it's, just a country above us in Canada or Norway or Australia or Germany. We all make the same face on the shitter. We all have feelings. We all have lives. We all have motivations. Yep. Like, you're a busy man. You're a father, right?
Yeah.
And you have a full-time job. What type of business, where has your career led you and your life? Let's learn a little bit about who you are. So
yeah, sure. So I'm born and raised in New York State. I lived in way upstate New York, which is pretty close to Canada. So to some of my Canadian friends out there, we're not too far from each other, not too far from Buffalo. I did spend pretty much all my 20s in Manhattan, New York, in a little area called Washington Heights. Maybe some people have heard about it. Pretty famous plays called In the Heights in regards to that. So I would say those probably about a decade of my life was spent in Manhattan. And, at that point, I wasn't into crypto yet. That happened probably later on in life, around 2017, 2018 is when I came into crypto. But yeah, after I moved from New York City, I came back to Rochester, which is where I'm at now, and got married. And then we had 2 sets of twins within a 2-year span. So yeah, and my wife,
two sets of twins in 2 years.
Yeah, so
four children in 2 years.
Well, actually, there's a fifth. She's 12 now. She was my wife's child prior to marriage. She's 12 now, and the twins are ages 5 and ages 3. And let me tell you, that is no easy job. Just people say, oh my God, twins are such a blessing. And, they are, but just think about it. In a 2-year span, you have to get double of everything twice and no sleep for the next decade.
Oh my Lord.
But so, yeah, having a remote job now is probably the biggest blessing out of, having all of that happen. So.
Wow, man. I like it. I'm a father. I have a son and a daughter, and something I don't share much about my daughter. She's my stepdaughter, and I don't think that that's relevant. And it's absolutely amazing going through the journey of bringing another child into your life, and she's now 24 years old, and I met her at 6, and it's fascinating, that the influence that you can be able to have. So I that warms my heart to hear that, and to be a father of 4 and 2 years, you're right, is a challenge. I did it once, and my son is, I'm not sure how I was blessed with such an easy child, but everything along the journey in the last 16 years has been easy with him, and he's just turned out with everything you'd ever hope for. So, that's tough, that's awesome, brother. So you work at home, and you've got 5 children in the house, and, you run a day-to-day job, and you are in New York City, Manhattan, which is where Wall Street is.
Not anymore.
No, I know that, but we're back at that time. That's when you said, around the time you started to get introduced to crypto, which I find the irony of that that was Wall Street crypto was a nemesis of Wall Street back then in 2017. Yeah. I mean, crypto was for drug dealers back then, apparently. When you started to get a taste of it. So you get into crypto, and you make a move to the northern parts of the state, and crypto bites you. You get the bug. So
I do. Yep.
How did it bite you? What piqued your interest when you go back to 2016, 17, when you first started to learn about it? What was it?
It all goes back to Bitcoin. I think that's most people's entry point into it. When they, just going into the white paper for the very first time, understanding a distributed network, trustless network, everything that kind of opens your eyes to what crypto and blockchain could do. Even at that time, in a simple way, was able to own your assets and send them, even if it was just Bitcoin, and having a network that incentivizes users to mine the Bitcoin and verify the transactions as an incentive to them, but also not needing a central point of organization to, run the network in a sense. So when I started to read about that, and just seeing what that could open the door for, then I started to learn about Ethereum, and I was like, whoa, now we're talking about applications. Now we're talking about data. Now we're talking about ownership, and even NFTs to a degree was talked about early on. And it was mostly about, okay, well, this is an idea. What can this actually do? What can NFTs be used for? What is that? So for me, I go down the rabbit hole. That's just what I do. I find something I'm interested in, I just obsess over it. I don't know who else is like that. I'm assuming, everybody that's into blockchain or crypto to the level that we're at is, to a degree, we share that kind of, man, I just got to know, I got to go deeper. I got to, tell my friends and family about it. And then from there, I learned about Neo, which to me was the whole idea of a smart economy, like the whole, let's take assets and let's put them on the blockchain. Let's, make them for everybody to own. Mm-hmm. And I love that idea. So then I got pretty heavily into the Neo community, really heavily. So, I was an admin in their channel for some years. That's where I met Jay, and Bill actually originally was in the Neo communities.
Let's stop right there then. Let's talk a little bit about that, the aspects of that journey. And, we can then explore a little bit who Jay and Bill are and, where that transition made. But, I think you talked about some really interesting points of, your journey and how you say a lot of people's entry points is Bitcoin. I would agree for the OGs, but, I would not agree and say that for people in 2021. What we experienced last year was paramount, unique. It was the first stages of true applications being solved. It wasn't about a one world order or a new dollar, and that was a lot of misconceptions, I think. But what I really like about your journey is understanding the trustless nature of Bitcoin and what Bitcoin truly is trying to stand for, of a decentralized decentralized autonomous organization, in a sense, even back in 2008, that this is just a monetary platform that could run on itself and run by the people. And, so I think we do share some of those commonalities, definitely. But understanding the use case, when you said, okay, Ethereum, it was like, well, wait a minute here. And okay, smart contracts and, what are these digital assets? And, I remember those light bulbs going on. And, I think some of us in crypto are all a little bit crazy. I think that's why I like it. I think we think this is the way the world works, but I could assure you, dude, it doesn't. I go back to previous lives of mine, a story back in 2005. And when I first realized that I can manipulate the Google algorithm and start getting websites to the top, I thought everybody should be talking about this. And this was like the greatest thing under the sun for every single business that was out there. But, back in that day, you'd go to a business owner and it was the deer in the headlight looks. And they go, why the hell? I don't need a effing website. Why do I, 2000, wait, are you crazy? How could you not think that your business, that people are not going to be using this internet to find you? Well, I'm on the yellow pages. I mean, it was amazing. Only 4 years later, the yellow pages we used to watch and get smaller. And by 2012, they were gone. It was 6-7 years that transition happened, that it just, so that's what's happening with blockchain right now. Like I don't think there's any other two ways of looking at it. And we look at like we're in the gaming world, right? 70% of this gaming conference that's happening in San Francisco, the attendees that are there apparently think 70% of them think that NFTs are essentially the Satan, that it's bad for, I'm sorry. I don't think that. I think that blockchain has its place and it's going to enhance the value of the end user, regardless of this whole cryptocurrency world and all the how tokenomics, and we got good tokenomics. We know that. So it's like, I like that story of yours, and then we find Phantasma. So you go through this journey, and then you start to explore the Neo path, which brought a lot of soldiers in back in the day. No longer as a channel, and you are on Telegram, which is the de facto of crypto, and you meet Bill and Jay. And anybody that's with Phantasma knows that Bill and Jay have been around for quite some time and made some. Brought some incredible value to the project. So absolutely, let's get back to that now that you meet them and you're inspired by Neo.
Yeah. So I've been with Neo for a few years at that point. And I was just pretty active in the community. Until one day I was asked, I don't know if I asked or somebody asked me to, hey, do you want to moderate? You want to help moderate? It was a Neo community channel at the time, which is still there. It's like one of the oldest channels, I think. Can you still hear me? Because froze. Yep. Okay. So I was just there for, moderating with them and just talking about the future and Neo and everything. And I can't remember exactly how it came across to me, but somebody mentioned Phantasma. It was a NEP5 token, which is a token on Neo's blockchain. And I found the channel and, read the white paper. And, I was the guy that, I put up the walls and I say, hey, who are you guys? What are you about? prove to me that you're worth my time kind of thing. So I gave the mods, I think in the beginning, some, a run for their money, but over time, I was able to really see the clear vision that Phantasma had. Sergio is just a brilliant guy. Oh. He's a master of the arts. He's a master of cryptography. He's a game developer. He developed on Neo with City of Zion and helped with their tooling and everything. And I looked into him. I looked into Phantasma, and I saw what they wanted to build, and how they wanted to implement that into the future before NFTs was really a big deal. And then once they struck the chord with smart NFTs, that's when the explosion in my brain happened. And the rest is history from that point, because at some point, I became a moderator in the Phantasma channel. And then just recently was able to move into a business dev role, which I'm absolutely loving. And the future can't be brighter right now for Phantasma. So Just super excited to see where we've been. We came from a token on a Neo blockchain, and then we had a test net, then we had mainnet, we had oracles, smart contracts, smart NFTs, ghost market. I mean, anything that you could think of within that past few years, that was an explosion for such a small team. Honestly, I don't think I've seen a harder working team of this size build what has been built, and for many firsts in the world, to be frank. To me, it's an honor. I feel extremely lucky, privileged that it fell on my lap essentially, and I just happened to look into it, and the rest is history. There's just no looking back at this point.
Yeah, I kind of want to call the BS card a little bit on it falling into your lap, because I'm a firm believer that we create our destiny, and we need to take actions at different stages. Yeah. There was a lot of decisions that you made to get you where you are. There was a lot of gut decisions, instinctual, subliminal. Luck is one thing, but I do understand the aspect of feeling privileged. And you could probably hear my dog in the background, probably somebody walking by. The joys of working at home. But I want to dissect a little bit of these last 4 years and what you've seen since you started with Phantasma. You started with this project at a very, 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 very early stage. Yeah. And before it was just a side project on Neo. And so for you to see that journey, I want to talk a little bit about that, because of what the entire crypto industry has gone through, and what this team at Phantasma has been able to accomplish in the last 4 years is quite fascinating and quite awesome. Because back when you started, the market itself dropped almost 96%, and there was almost 96% of the projects essentially disappeared, and Phantasma's cryptography and tokenomics allowed the development to be sustainable for quite some time. And there was people that spilled their blood and sweat and tears during the bear markets, during the crypto winners. What we've seen in the last 18 months has been fine, great and beautiful and whatnot, but with what was built and pushed through all of that, you're right. People don't quite recognize it. You said smart NFTs. Well, let's face it. The development team built NFTs to capabilities well beyond anybody else. It was only Phantasma's marketing team that went, "Oh, we got to rebrand this and identify that we're a little bit different here." Well, now Phantasma has been the leader of leading the ship of what smart NFTs should be. Okay, we know that this technology is always evolving, so Phantasma seems to be a couple of steps ahead. This development team, that's the guys like Sergio that do see that. It's absolutely incredible. And 2021 at Phantasma, we saw excellent growth. Our token price went up significantly. It's not what we're in the game for, but we also saw exposure, and we saw exposure into mainstream. which is pretty awesome last year. We saw different types of projects recognizing how this technology can enhance the value of their business. And so in 2021, Phantasma has begun to generate a lot of this exposure, which has generated a lot of conversations. And there couldn't have been somebody better than you to step up to the plate. I don't know where you find additional time, but you do. And you've begun to engage into some pretty incredible business development conversations. And, you know, if you're like me, your life for your children and your wife, it's changed. Like, the game has changed here, and you're putting everything you have. So,
absolutely.
I kind of want to talk about some of your passions a little bit now, and
Sure.
you know what fuels you, because if there's something in business that I think that is required is education, experience, and then if that's driven by blood and sweat and passion, that's why it's been the greatest experience of my career to work with Phantasma. So we do work together. Let's talk a little bit about where Phantasma could potentially go. And, you know, we're not talking about token price. We're not talking about crypto adoption. We're talking about true user adoption. And, you know, you're engaged in quite a few of conversations. So let's, you know, what excites you about the future of Phantasma? Like, where do you see this project being 1 year, 5 years, game development? I don't know. Let's talk about the future.
Yeah. You know, I'm no oracle. You know, we have on-chain oracles for that. But, you know, I do want to say one thing before I answer that, too, is that, you know, another big backbone for Phantasma has been our community. You know, I think we have one of the best, if not the best, communities out there in terms of how the community handles anything that comes their way. And on top of that, I want to give props to even the team, the developers, the community managers, everyone. You know, what made Phantasma and all of the iterations and changes that have come to Phantasma is solely because of the humility that comes from the team. Because honestly, the majority of the changes that have been made on Phantasma is because we've listened to feedback, criticism. We've had hard conversations, and, you know, it's taken back to the developers, to the internal team, and they listen. They really, really listen. I can remember more than a handful of times where the tokenomic structure changed, even the code base changed. I mean, at one point, we had a leaderboard, for goodness sake, and we took that into consideration. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, because I think that's overlooked many times in terms of the adaptability and the ability to change and stay humble and remain humble to hear other people. Because, you know, I won't name drop, but I've seen other areas of crypto and it's toxic. So that's one thing I'm very proud of as well with Phantasma. But in regards to the future, man, it's always really hard to say how the future looks. But at least the way that it's going right now, I can see just a gate opening for clearly gaming. Because I think people are starting to see the use case and the ability, and not only that, but how much revenue can come in for game studios. You know, we have something like Pavilion Hub. As far as my understanding goes, there's really nothing else out there that's like that, to where you can integrate it to your Steam library, and any games developed on top of Phantasma are in that library. And then the game economy for those games is all on chain, 120% metadata and everything. There's really no chance of anything being taken away from you. There's nobody to tell you what you can and cannot do with your game assets. You know, having the ability to upgrade a game or an asset or an item that's programmable, to me, is everything that you need. That's 100% yours. So how will that look in the future? I don't exactly know how that's going to look, but I can see little by little game creators, studios adopting this because it's going to create a whole new era for me in terms of gaming. And I've been in some discussions. I can't really, disclose too much, but I mean, there's a DAO that's coming and other things like that are coming. And, the future is really decentralized. It really, really is. And in a scalable way, I think. If you have, the way that we operate right now, everything is a one-person show. But when you start to get to a place where the blockchain is democratized to where now it's a democracy, people can have a voice, have a choice, have a decision in what happens, maybe in a game, maybe in the future of finance, maybe in how things change, even at the protocol level or whatever the case may be. That's unprecedented in any system out there. Mostly everything right now is just centralized. It's how it works. It's one person says this has to happen, and I've been in a few DAOs where it truly is a beautiful thing to have everything, even a treasury, for God's sake, have no centralized authority over it. And people can decide, hey, this is where I want the money to go. I mean, look at Phantom Force, for instance. That's a form of a DAO. Those funds are used for a specific reason and purpose. And it's not just a one-person choice. And it comes from our amazing tokenomics that allow that to even happen. It's like a self-serving, self-funding ecosystem. So I think we're just scratching the surface on all the different implementations and possibilities out there. And it gives so many opportunities for indie game developers. I mean, everybody has seen probably Crypto Sammy in the channel just going crazy over her game, which is amazing. For a traditional game developer, it's not so easy to go from 0 to 100. But with a blockchain that has something like a DAO or a Phantom Force, now the community can have a say to say, hey, let's help our sister out. Let's give her some additional needs that she needs to get this off the ground running without having to, jump off of a cliff to try to make it happen, So I'm totally rambling right now, but clearly there's
preach, brother, preach.
There's just countless ways that a blockchain can be used. And not only just a single blockchain, you have a infinitely scalable blockchain like Phantasma that you can deploy as many side chains as you can conceivably fathom in order to get more applications, to get more scalability, to get more throughput. And the list goes on. I mean, there is no limit to what can be done, And again, we're at the early stages. How that's gonna materialize, I don't know. But I do know that from where we were a few years ago to where we are now, that was a huge growth, huge. And a lot has happened in just a short amount of time. So I can't even fathom what the next 5 years are going to look like, honestly. So it's just exciting.
It's amazing how one little question could evoke so much from that. And I'll tell you what, Justin, this is why, we do this stuff. And, let's lay it out there. What we're trying to create here with Soldiers and Soldier Stories is to evoke exactly with what wanted to share with what you just did. The psychological aspects of you just delivering right from your heart, your emotion and coming in with it and seeing, the opportunities here. I like the humble aspect. You demonstrated the community and the humbleness of your own self and saying, I don't know what Phantasma is going to have, but this is the opportunity that currently lies right here in front of us. And, that's you nailed it, man. You nailed it. And what I really liked with what you were talking about was like, well, gosh, I could go all the way back to the very first sales job that I had, 17 years old, Radio Shack, and they taught me about features, advantages, and benefits. And, I was always taught when I would train train my sales team when I was running my businesses and I was going through that. I'd pick something up on my desk and I'd be like, okay, so here's the remote, guys. The feature of the remote is that it's made out of plastic and it's hard. And the advantage is if you're not doing your job, I can go and smack you over the head for that. And the benefit is, well, maybe my company will get a little bit more productivity. So, finding a feature, an advantage, and a benefit. And, I think that gets confused a lot in the crypto world of something that I've seen, and, how projects are particularly blowing up with a lot of these features. There's a lot of talk, but where push comes to shove is the benefits. And, for our situation is the use cases. You had mentioned use case and, demonstrate different elements of use case of how a smart NFT can bring great value to an end user, being either a game developer or the actual gamer itself. And, trying to identify all the opportunities to be able to level up, for example, or the fact that, our NFTs are multi-nestable. And so you can, have an upgradable aspect to it, or the timed aspect of NFTs, you can program that in, and how that, gamers could just, whether it's event-based or what, like the list just goes on and on and on of all the potential benefits that a smart NFT can bring to a gamer and the game creator, that currently no other chain today can accomplish this stuff for game devs. So, I am on this exact same journey with you. And my journey, I'm a business owner, I'm a coach. I've got products out there that I've taught and sold that teaches internet marketing and different elements. I'm done. My career, the next decade of my life, that's it. I'm blockchain. There's no, this is bigger than the internet, because I always say the internet is just connecting computers. Blockchain essentially is that financial layer, the only sector that the internet did not disrupt. And I'm sorry, the world runs on finances. That this is it. This is that bridge. So, 2030, every single American, in my opinion, is going to be touching blockchain on multiple times throughout their day without even them recognizing it.
Right. That's a goal.
Yeah. That's going to happen that's where I stand. That's why my career, that's it. I'm done with everything else. It's blockchain for the next decade of my life until I move on. And, so I love to hear this story from you. I love hearing, when I ask you, well, what do you think the future of Phantasma is? You got your humble aspect, but you're like, this is a big, big opportunity.
Yeah. And sorry to cut you off, but we also provide the tools, right? We got the documentation getting better. We're making sure that the developers are, taken care of. And you froze again, so I'm not sure if you can hear me, but okay, you're back. And so, here's the thing. We provide the infrastructure. We provide the tooling and the documentation. It's the developers, it's the community, it's those who have the imagination, who have the ability to use these tools to build what I can't even fathom, what you can't even fathom right now. And that's how the internet was too. People thought of mega awesome ways to utilize the internet, e-commerce, and then you got, this, and you got that, and you got advertisements, and you got social media, all these on the Web 2 world. We're going into a whole new world of Web 3. What is that going to look like for Phantasma? I don't know, but it's going to be awesome for sure. So, we just want to give, the tools and the ability for any developer, whether big or small, to have the opportunity to build something that is really owned by you and the user. Yeah. And nobody else can intervene in that or touch that, so, and it can never be taken offline. It's forever floating through the blockchain cosmos, I guess you could say. But
it's you had mentioned a DAO, and it's like I get into conversations with friends and family, and when I refer and think about that particular project, it's like blockchain is going to change how you get your hair cut, and either you get it or you don't get that right now, either that statement. And I know that how and what that's the bottom line is, there's so many different ways that it's going to affect with what we're getting done. And, you know, I think about my girlfriend has got a business, and it's in a very prominent area of Chicago. And, you know, she's able to command high prices because she's been at it for some time, and she's one of the best in all of Chicago. And, you know, I think about how small businesses are run today, and some of the challenges that larger corporations that have, you know, grasped that element of structure, or larger political groups, and how the world has changed. You know, we talk about the music industry and the Spotifys that are taking that new 30% layer that didn't exist into the music industry 20 years ago. There's been such a nasty disruption in a multitude of industries that the internet has actually brought, that it feels like blockchain can be the savior for a lot of that. And that's why I say, you know, blockchain is going to change how you get your hair cut. Like, it's fascinating. So listen, man, we talk, you know, we could talk about this stuff all day. I love it, but it's, we're getting into our time, and I don't know if we're still having people that are going to watch us here. So, I can't thank you enough for taking your time out of your day today, Justin, to talk about this. It's been a lot of fun, man. So I just want to say, you know, thank you for that, and to the community. We're going to be coming back with quite a few things throughout the next several weeks. It's we got a lot of things lined up, different things to talk about. It's exciting. So, Justin, you know, it's great that you can share with the community your heavy involvement as business development, and it's great, you know, that you're helping get projects on Phantasma. So, thank you.
Thank you for having me, man. It was an absolute pleasure. I was a little nervous, but you know, worked out. And this is definitely a treat. So, thank you for having me.
All right, soldiers, we're out.